This looks familiar. I feel like CS2 is broken again. So it turns out the Michael Jackson peak makes its return to CS2 again. I'm not entirely sure whether or not this happened with the latest update or even prior to it, but as you can see, you're once again able to roleplay as Michael Jackson in Counter-Strike 2. Special thanks to my friend who brought this to my attention, as I probably wouldn't have found out about this yet since I don't have or use Instagram, so special thanks to him. The original Instagram post will be of course linked in the description down below, so feel free to check it out. But how does this bug work? Basically, this brand new Michael Jackson peak is easier than the previous one, and according to the original video, only works on sloped surfaces. However, I can confirm that this seems to work on basically any wall in CS2, which is pretty cool to be honest. All you have to do is hold shift while pressing W at a certain angle on any wall, and your character will start to pose like MJ. I'm not really sure whether or not this would give anyone any sort of advantage, simply because you're very slow with this type of peak and it only lasts for as long as you hold the W key, which is certainly something to keep in mind. As soon as you let go of it, your character goes back to their regular pose. But this new MJ peak may still confuse some people because it's just really silly to be honest. But this old new bug isn't the only problem that occurred after the latest update. With the most recent patch, Valve made some further improvements to the network side of things. And while this did address the stutters and rubber banding for some users, it has gotten much worse for others. Which you can see on screen right now. This is just one example of the many that I found over on Reddit, so it genuinely seems like this issue is still present in game, which is rather unfortunate. I really hope we will get a fix for this as soon as possible, since it makes the game quite frankly unplayable for those affected. I would also like to mention that specifically after this update, I've started experiencing these stutters as well, but specifically in deathmatch, which isn't too surprising to me, as the performance for me in deathmatch was already pretty poor to begin with, sometimes dropping below 100 FPS. Anyways, let's move on to the last issue for today, which we also recently covered in a video. The kill delay that occurs when tabbing out of the game still exists even after the latest patch, and somehow it has gotten much worse. For those of you that do not know what I'm talking about, let me give you a quick recap. When tabbing out of Counter-Strike 2 and back into the game, there's a pretty noticeable delay with the actions you perform. Shooting an enemy feels like as if you have a high ping, regardless of if you play on a workshop map or in a multiplayer server. The link for the original video will be in the description down below, so make sure to check that one out. But what's the issue now? Well, before this update, this delay lasted up to around 6 seconds before things returned to normal, which you can see on screen right now. However, if we compare this to after this latest update, the delay has significantly increased and can last up to 9 seconds until things return to normal, which is pretty insane to be honest. I have to mention though that it seems like after 5 seconds or so, the kill delays themselves aren't that bad anymore. But until everything returns back to normal, like I said, it takes a bit longer. One of you guys also wanted to see how this affects the game when the bots are moving, which you can see on screen right now. I was struggling quite a bit with the delay to hit any of the bots, which was quite surprising to me, but I suppose it makes sense. It also felt like that the hitboxes of the bots were not exactly where they should be, but maybe that's just a skill issue, I don't know. And this is how the issue looks like on a multiplayer server. As you can see, it is significantly less bad as it is on a workshop map, which is quite interesting. But even on the server there still seems to be a slight delay after tabbing back into the game. In my opinion though, this has gotten slightly better than before this update, which is good to see. So Valve, please fix this as soon as possible, hopefully with the next update either later today or tomorrow. Anyways, that already concludes today's video, thank you so much for watching it. I hope it was informative and enjoyable to watch. If so, consider leaving a like and subscribing, and as always of course, I will see you in the next one.